Hello, and welcome to segment 6 on Target Radio. And tonight we're going to be talking about the new Tennessee law that they just passed. To my knowledge, it was this past week. And the website bearing arms, it is Senate Bill 1736. And it says, the law aimed to enact a duty of care on any person who posts their property as a gun-free zone, making them responsible for the safety of any handgun carry permit holder while the permit holder is on the posted premises, as well as while during their travel to and from the premises and the location where the permit holder's firearm is stored. So basically, if you don't have to post by state law, if you post voluntarily because you want your property to be gun-free zone, it's your responsibility to keep people safe in Tennessee now. And that's something that our students ask us about all the time in Conceal Carry class. Can I sue a business owner who posts and then something happens? You know, I get shot while I'm in their business, so anyway.
If our dear friend Ed weren't up chasing loons in a kayak and also being on the water too, that's a separate thing. He said a number of times that that wouldn't bear muster up under Second Amendment.
I don't think it would.
The Constitution.
I don't think it would hold up under scrutiny. Personally, I think if their law is challenged, I think it's too flimsy. He always says that the law does not recognize vicarious liability.
What he always says is, I can't give advice to you because you're not a client. However, and then he goes into, but hypothetically.
And then he says,
hypothetically, yeah. But my understanding is that it's his contention, as I recollect, that it wouldn't stand up a legal challenge, but it should.
There's a lot of things that fall under vicarious liability, but I think that's a general. I'm not being a lawyer, but I think that's a general legal principle. Is just that there's certain things that other people can't be held responsible for.
Yeah, the answer to this is a national law that says everybody has a right to carry concealed. It's like a driver's license. You have to pass something. They got to come up with some method of, approving it so that there isn't a big argument that this state doesn't do anything or whatever. But, and the truth is they shouldn't have to come up with anything at all. As long as you're not a felon, as long as you're a law-abiding citizen, you shouldn't have to do anything. And it should be recognized everywhere. And what is the difference? And you hear this all the time, even from the NRA. Well, we don't want people going into bars with guns. Well, why not? A law-abiding citizen is a law-abiding citizen. I have never in my life even thought of pulling a gun out on somebody just because I didn't like them.
Right.
What's the point? You should be able to carry anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and as we've said before, that generally concealed carry people do the right thing. And generally, we rise to the occasion. There have been very few incidents that I'm aware of, if any, where the intended target wasn't the one that got shot.
Right.
It's pretty much. It's not like these gangs in Chicago that they can't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, they can't even get near to what their actual target is.
They just hose people down.
Right, but it seems like concealed carry people pretty much hit what they're aiming at.
I always quote the statistic because I think it's a very relevant one.
It is.
Florida started in 1987. They've issued about 2.5 million permits, and the percentage of people who have a Florida concealed carry permit who have used a firearm in a felonious manner is 0.006%.
Right.
It's statistically irrelevant. It's better than law enforcement. It's better than cops.
Yeah, actually, cops commit more gun crimes than concealed carry people do. And the other thing that's interesting about Tennessee is that this website says in 2013, Tennessee had the 10th highest number of gun deaths per cap. Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't what I was. I thought they had the. I thought they were the number one state in concealed carry.
Tennessee?
Yeah, that it was basically like 1 out of every 2 people has concealed carry.
Per capita?
Yeah. And I couldn't find that statistic, but you had cited it once before a long time ago. But I mean, Tennessee is pretty good as far as concealed carry goes. It's as like you're saying, Florida's probably one of the best because they've had it the longest and they're the most used to it. But I think Tennessee's up there. You know,
Texas is pretty
one
good,
of the good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they.
Although Texas is stricter than you would expect. You know,
In some
Texas
areas,
has
right.
a swagger, or a reputation for swagger, and I think that it's maybe not as much as people say.
I would just like to see. I would just like to see this be a federal thing. Everything in the Bill of Rights is universal across the entire country,
Right.
except that Second Amendment. And
Yeah.
and that's just not. There's nothing to justify that. Nothing.
Right.
Anti-gun people quote things that oftentimes are completely fabricated
Oh, totally.
or distorted from reality. And the funniest part about that is, if we were having a debate and I were assigned, I have to pitch gun control. I've got to come up with,
Sure.
that would be my argument. There are things that I could bring up that are true that would make my case.
Sure.
We don't think they're a big, they're not a big deal, but for instance, gun suicides, okay?
Sure.
And you could say, well, look at how many people commit suicide with a firearm. Well, but if you take the firearm away, they're still going to kill themselves,
Right.
okay? That's the thing that they overlook when they bring up those arguments. That's not going to change. Long before guns existed, there was more slaughter in Europe under, the Visigoths and all these people than there ever is today.
Well, and that is why, we're always saying we hate the phrase gun violence. Guns don't commit violence. People commit
Exactly.
violence. And just because they may not have access to guns is not going to prevent the violence. I posted a video on my Facebook page of some rioting going on in Paris.
Right.
And it's pretty graphic, and they're using metal objects. They're using,
Steel rods.
Right, they're using, lumber, planks of lumber, things like that. I mean, people will use as a weapon whatever they have available to them. So just because some people have guns available to them doesn't vilify the guns. I mean, you can't do that. It's an inanimate object.
The interesting thing, if you look at the mass shootings that we've had, and there have been a few that have had semi-automatic rifles, most
No.
not.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing that nobody seems to be talking about. If I were an Islamic militant, okay, if I were an ISIS guy, and I wanted to take out a whole bunch of people and, be a whatever they are and go get my 7 virgins, realistically, would I go in with a gun?
No.
What would I do?
Bomb.
You bet. I'd wear that. I'd go in with that vest and I'd blow the whole place up.
Right.
And the reason I say that's interesting
Or
is
driving in with a car bomb. That's usually pretty effective.
whatever. But the reason I say that's interesting is if you think about it, it seems to me that there's more to this stuff than meets the eye. Because if the intent was to make as much carnage as possible, as quickly as possible, you wouldn't use a gun. And it's not like they can't get bomb-making stuff.
No.
Okay, McVeigh didn't have a problem making a bomb. It's
Right.
not that hard to make a bomb if you want to make it.
They don't really seem to
No.
have any trouble.
They used a pressure cooker in Boston. These people know how to do that stuff. It seems to me there's more motivation to this than just wiping out people. This is an assault against guns in this country. These people are not stupid, and they're literally trying to shape the policy using the stupid liberals as a foil because they believe this stuff anyway.
They'll play right into their
They're
hands.
intentional. I think they're intentionally using guns specifically to try and get gun laws
Disarm us.
to be completely disarmed because they're not so stupid as to think that they can walk into this country and get away with it.
Right.
We'll mow them down in the street.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really happening.
Oh, you may be right. And I think the Orlando one, I think that was maybe a botched government job, personally.
A lot of people think that.
I think you only have to be a little bit cynical. And as I said to you, if I were just a little bit more cynical, I would think, and you're like, you're definitely that cynical. But it's just way too easy. The information came out way too quickly afterwards. And the motivations are so confusing and mixed and smashed up. I think I think the CIA or the FBI or somebody recruited him to do that.
Well, the guy had ties to the CIA.
Right,
Through
exactly.
another person, yeah.
Right. Well, through Wackenhut.
Yeah. Well, he worked for whatever the modern incarnation of Wackenhut is. They changed the name.
Yeah.
Like that mattered, but they changed the name. I think it is not beneath the dignity of this administration to do that.
Yeah.
I really do. And all you got to do is look at the Clintons' list of friends to know that they wouldn't have a problem.
No, definitely not.
Anyway.
I mostly just wanted to talk about vicarious liability.
I know, but it's woven into a fabric of stuff that's going on.
And right, and I think that even though it may seem like we wander about, it really is all connected.
It really is. And here's another example. You see, they've been citing all of these flatbeds carrying UN vehicles.
Yeah, I've been seeing headlines about that.
And there's been several places where they've seen convoys of these things. They're on flatbeds, or they're armored vehicles, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked the UN, and their official answer was, we don't know anything about that.
What?
Really? So you're saying that Bob, the billionaire, decided he wanted a bunch of replica UN armored vehicles for some museum he's building somewhere?
I don't think it's Bob. I think it's George.
Well, that's probably right. Something weird, really, has been going on. We've been saying this for a long time. Something weird is going on. And I would be vigilant. I am vigilant.
Yes.
And
I still need to buy that rifle.
You need to buy that.
I need to do that.
And keep it close.
Yeah. you know where I keep my shotgun.
That's a whole different story. Yeah. When you walk into someone's living room and there's a shotgun pointed at you, it wasn't pointed at me, but it was pointed at the ceiling.
It's pointed roughly at the ceiling, yeah.
Don't go to her house. You know what I'm saying, Jim? Don't
You
go
can
to
come, but I wouldn't bring your kids.
Is that it?
That's it.
I think that's probably it. Close it out. Take us out.
So thanks for joining us for segment 6, and we'll see you next week on Target Radio, Sundays at 9 p.m. on AM560 The Answer.